Hello, this is Yuri from Moving Sales Professionals. We are here on the podcast. We got Mario from SouthBay Moving Systems from Salinas, California, joining us for our podcast today. How you doing, Mario?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking, Yuri. How are you doing today?
Good. Mario took time out of his day to meet us at 5 a.m. California time. So we're here on the East Coast, of course. So we're 3 hours ahead at 8 a.m. in the morning here. But yeah, he really took time out of his day. We really appreciate you coming and joining us today.
Oh, no problem at all. Anything. We've had a great relationship, so why not?
Well, I appreciate that. We've been together, what, a little bit over 2 years at this point?
It's over 2 years. It might be closer to three
Right,
because,
right.
I think we lost time during the pandemic,
Right. Yeah,
but
we did a
it was
little.
at least, I think it's three coming to four. I don't know. I think it's three because at least at the minimum, because we had 2 years in the pandemic. We met at the last Massaro convention.
Yeah, that was
Before
2019.
So yeah, I would say closer to, we've known each other almost four, and then we've
Yeah.
been doing business for at least three.
So what, I know that for our first event when we went, nobody knew me. I was, fairly new. We just opened the company. So what drew you to us, if I
Well,
may ask?
you know what? To be honest with you, a little bit of it was just your persistence and your excitement on your business. And at first we didn't do anything together, and I said, "Well, hold on, let's see how it goes." And then we had a need, and I said, "Okay, let's give it a try." And we did, and it blossomed to something really nice. But it took time, you know what I mean? It took time, and you've always been real helpful, and all your sales professionals have been great that I've had, and then if there's an issue, because there are always the small issues in the moving business, you jump right on it. So it's been great for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what we always try to do. We're hands-on and we're definitely custom. We make sure we adjust to the companies. It's very important. There's not really it's like one thing that we do and just that. So there's no real limitations per se, within reason, of course, but we generally try to do that. But yeah, that's one thing that we definitely want to share with our clients like Mario, in terms of the passion. I mean, we've been in this industry for a long time. We're going on, I mean, myself going on to 20 years at this point. So it's
Mhm.
certainly we're here. We're here for a long haul. So we're
Oh
not doing
no,
that.
for sure.
But enough about me. Let's talk about Mario and his business and what he just in general. I mean, he's been in it how many years at this point, Mario?
Oh wow. Oof. Uh Over 40,
Okay. Okay.
actually.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm 58, so ever summer since I've been 12, I've been in the business, breaking down boxes. And then back in the day, there was labor laws were not as strict as they were now. So I started to go on the trucks at like 14 or 15. And then I went to college for a couple of years, but I was still working part-time. And then I got my Class A driver's license. It was legal then at 18. So I got it at 18, and I started running the road actually, up and down California. You had to be 21 to leave the state, but you could be 18 to 21 and drive within the state. And that's what I did until I was 21. And then I started to go cross country the minute I turned 21 in October. My first cross country trip was in December. So yeah, I was young.
Well, what got you into the industry? What got you interested?
Well, like a lot of people, no one, it seems like someone, like a friend of a friend or a family member, in this case, it was my father, was a transportation manager for a company called Hughes out in California. And, the moving companies would try to get his business, and they said, "Hey, you can put your son to work, you know?" And that's how I got into business. And yeah, I'll be honest with you, I didn't really like it at first because I was on the labor end, and then it just I needed a job one day, after I stopped going to school, and I kept on going at it. It didn't work out great at first. When I started to drive semis, I had a pretty serious accident, but I like got through it. I tried again, and I got up and I kept on going, and then became an owner operator in 1986. Bought my first truck, and then grew the business. And then I had a moving company in Southern California for a while. Um, but I mean, I could go on, but I don't.
No, it's fine. It's great. No, it's great to hear that. That's exactly what we want to have on our podcast. There are people that have the experience, that have something to teach the new people that are coming in the industry too, because we want to make sure that we're here for basically everybody when it comes to new stuff, the old stuff, everything. That's the industry is definitely changing and morphing, and a lot of things are happening. The ironic part here, the connection here. So Mario's in California, right? My first sales job relating to moving, after I did the call center stuff, my first sales job relating to moving was actually in Los Angeles, California. So
Oh
I,
wow, that's interesting.
yeah, so ironically enough, I go back there. I think the company, if I'm not mistaken, the company at the time was called LA Moving. They
Oh
were,
really?
yes, LA Moving.
Uh,
They were right in West Hollywood.
mhm.
I think last time I looked, which was years ago, I think they were on Wilshire somewhere.
Oh
But
wow.
the gentleman that owned the company at the time, his name was Andrei Pryatkin. I remember now. He had this. I was in my 20s, so he had this car that I really, really wanted. Realistically, at that time, it was like BMWs. Wow, black BMW, black leather, the whole deal, right? And he always showed it off, right? So he had this black BMW that he was very, very proud of. So yes, we definitely, the guys at the moving company were like, "Oh, okay, he got a BMW. We want one of those," you know.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
so yeah, it was interesting. That was my first sales job related to moving. I mean, I did sales before that, but that was the first. That's where me and moving met. Were in Los Angeles, so
Oh
that's
wow.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think that um, that's back when the yellow pages were big. And so for me, when I was in LA and I had a company down there, and it was in the San Fernando Valley. And we did pretty good. I think we got up to like 6, 7 trucks, something like that. But I had a relationship deal, and I had to sell my company, so we broke it up. But it was a lesson, that I learned, and it was good. And I ended up moving up to the Bay Area to be closer to my son. And then, but I was always involved in the moving business. I was in dispatch for a company. I did sales for a company. I was a contractor for a company. I did a little bit of everything, and then that's where the years kind of turned into like 20 something years. And I thought, let me try it one more time. And this is where I'm at right now. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned a couple of challenges when you were first started. I mean, would you say you really learned to overcome them over time? Um, you
Well,
know,
you know what? I think more than anything, with anything, sometimes it's talent, or how can I say this? Let me think this out. I think sometimes it's how much are you willing to keep going when you don't want to keep going. I think that's a
isn't that the truth?
yeah. I think more than anything, it's easy to throw in the towel. I think that a lot of people confuse talent with just dogmatic. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't have to have talent, but I think that it depends if the want is big enough. Like if you really want to succeed, you will succeed. It may not be at the level of, yeah, you may not have 100 trucks one day, but you might have 10, or you might have 25, or you may have 50, or you may have 5. You might be happy. You know what I mean? Like, so success isn't like by numbers or revenue or anything like that. It's a little bit of it in business is just surviving. Can you survive the downturns, the bad times? Because there's going to be bad. You know what I mean? It's the way it is, and can you hang in there? So,
So, what would you say, let's say, given an opportunity to start over, if you
mhm.
had that chance to do that, you know, what would you do differently? What is still working all these years later, or what would you do differently?
Well, I think that I run into a lot of guys I'm a private client for Louis Massaro. and I run to a lot of guys in the mastermind group, and I think that, and I admire them. I would, and what Lewis teaches is just by the numbers. You know what I mean? Just like everything by the numbers. It's moving is an easy business that it can get away from you. You know what I mean? Like as far as like expenses and really knowing your numbers, I think would be something that I would start out doing instead of just growing my business organically. Like I grew it and then all of a sudden I had to make processes and I call it repairing while sailing. You know what I mean? I'm going out, I'm out in the ocean. I'm like, oh man, I need some tape. I can't go to Home Depot. I got, I'm like trying to put it, just fix it while I'm going, where I think that I see some of the younger guys and they're doing all that when they're starting. And I think that that's what I would do differently. I would just a little bit at a time, grow it and just I would probably just systems. I would say stick with the systems, and I think that's the key to success. It is now. I mean, we've done a lot of systems within our company, but I think test, track, and tweak is something that my coach always tells me, and I think that's what we're doing right now. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
I think it's important. One of the things that I like about working with you is that you're willing to try new things. And I think in today's day and age in 2023, and we're going to talk about that, it's extremely important to be open to new stuff, to be open to come up with something new, and the creativity. It's so important because this year is not so far is not looking like potentially any other before it. So getting back to that, with the current market conditions, how do you see 2023 shaping up for you, or in general? What do you see? What are you thinking? What are you seeing in comparison to years past to what we're seeing
well,
right
I think a lot of companies are going to go out, to be honest with you, but not in a negative way. Um, I remember the real estate boom, and there was a lot of people getting into real estate. I mean, both in 2000 and before 2007. Everybody wanted to be a flipper, house flipper. Everybody wanted to, and they said, man, it's easy. You can just go out, or I'm going to be a real estate investor. And uh, I think it's very similar to that because, yeah, a lot of people made a lot of money during the real estate boom, and then they end up losing money because they didn't have solid principles of real estate. And I think the same thing is going to be with moving. There's a lot of people that got involved with moving that really didn't have solid principles and really didn't have a love for what they were doing. And so I think that you'll see those people drop out because they're like, man, this is crazy. It's insane. Why am I doing it? Which makes sense. You know what I mean? Like for them, it's nothing like negative. But I was not born into this business, but I've been doing it for so long, this is what I do at every level, and I think that you're going to see a lot of people that came into business, they're going to go out. I think that the economy will recover. We'll be fine. Anybody that's serious about it will be fine and have ways to adapt and adjust. I think that a lot of old school methods will come back. I actually think billboards will come back over pay-per-click. I think pay-per-click is sometimes getting a little saturated. And I think that some old school stuff's going to come back. Just postcards, everyone does them. They're starting to come back. And I think actually billboards may come back a little bit. But I think there's going to be some different things happening. But COVID changed a lot of things. It was easy money, low-hanging fruit. And a lot of people thought, okay, this is it, just like I compared it to the real estate industry. And I think that it's not going to be low-hanging fruit. You're going to have to work for it, and you're going to have to add value in what you sell. You can't just say, hey, I got a guy in some trucks. That worked a couple of years ago. But you're going to have real value. You're going to have well-trained movers, well-trained sales staff, well-trained everybody. And I think it's good. It has to happen. Our industry has to value our clients have to value us. I think it's good. So I'm looking forward to it. I know I'll be around. Yeah, I know I'll be around, and yeah, I think
well, we'll help you be around and do everything else. So we're certainly here you know, when you're talking about professional sales team, that's what we bring to the table, certainly.
Right, right.
And what would you say? I mean, so you do a lot of military moves also, and based on partnerships and stuff like that, how did you get into that niche?
Well, for me, the military was something just in my past. Like you had a military past too, and like me, it's not easy work, and sometimes it's not as profitable. But what I found for myself was that it it provided year-round work for my guys. And like right now, it's low season and low rates. We're not making a ton of money, but off the jobs, but it keeps my guys going, and they're going to be around for the spring and the summer when I need them because yeah, they're around. So I think that helped me out and how I got involved in it.
And
It was just
I think that
industry.
that's a very important part of it too, the keeping the guys part, because I think one of the issues that a lot of companies have is they get in the habit, okay, the season's slowing down. I'm going to keep my main foreman. I'm going to let some of the other guys go because I can rehire them. But the thing is that that's no guarantee. It's easier. Yes, it's going to involve some sort of an investment somewhere along the way, potentially, right? But it's better to keep the guys that you already trained, guys that already know your system, that already follow your rules, rather than bring somebody new that you have to teach from scratch, and try to get them to do things your way, where frankly they may be coming from somewhere else and they have bad habits. It's the same thing that
Right,
we're doing. Yeah, I mean, obviously the industry slowed down a little bit this year, especially right now in the early going of 2023. But it's the same thing with with my call center. I'm very focused on keeping my people. I think we've been very good at that. Majority of the workers that I have, other than the new training classes coming in, most of them have been working for me for 2, 3 years at this point. So it's
right.
a very strong team, and it's that, having that experience, having that strength, having people that understand the overall goal of your company, that can, and support that goal, that are with you 100%. You can't buy that realistically. You can build it, sure, but it
No, that's
takes
true.
time
I
to
agree with
build.
it.
Whether
Yeah,
it's movers or salespeople or operations or anybody else, if you got somebody that's truly good, let's put it this way: it's only money, and at the end of the day, keeping somebody that's loyal to you is going to be worth more money to you in the end than the money you may save over a couple of months.
no, I agree with you. I agree with you 100% there. It's an investment, you know what I mean? And there are some people that are in it from the long haul. Um, one of um, one of our one of my mastermind group members said, I think that this is a time that you have to be fearless in a way. You have to be able to train your guys. But he posed a question to all of us, and he's like, a lot of people have fears. They're like, well, if I train this guy too good, maybe he'll leave. Maybe he'll start his own moving company or call center or whatever. But what about if you don't train him and he decides to stay? I mean, so you have to like trust and provide opportunities. And if that comes to that fork in the road, that's true. But if you have a process to keep going, you'll still be able to do it. And at the end of the day, maybe they go out on their own and then it doesn't work. Maybe they come back. Maybe they come and they're a friendly competitor, which means, they're out there too, but they do good business like you, and that's okay too. You know what I mean? It's okay. Uh, as long as they do proper business, then that's okay. Maybe the guys that don't won't. We get a good guy alliance. The bad guys will be gone. You know what I mean? So it
Right.
levels.
It's also about when you train, when you really put that work into somebody, that person, if they're a good person, of course, they will appreciate that. And down
Right,
the road, you may be in a situation. We all find ourselves in situations sometimes where we could use a little help, whether
right,
it's
absolutely.
because maybe a truck broke down or something like that, and we need this job, it's a huge job, 3 bedroom, I don't know, huge, five, you have 3 trucks, 5 trucks, whatever, and it's a huge job. You know that if you don't get this done, it's going to be a huge problem for your business, potentially many months or even years to come. If you have somebody that you trust, that you maybe used to work for you in that particular sense, that can be there to bail you out potentially, that could be super valuable to you. So I think the worst thing that you can do, for that matter, in any industry really, is really burn your bridges. You
Right,
want to make
correct. No,
sure
no.
you build good environment. You work with companies. It's all about keeping your integrity. It's because honestly, at the end of the day, if you don't have that, if you're not honest with your partners, people that you work with, whether they're your actual business partners or something else, if you don't build those relationships, if you don't continue on those relationships, you know, what does it say about you as a person? What does it say about you as a businessman or as a business owner? If you're not somebody that supports your people, if you're not somebody that supports somebody that may leave eventually, who knows, you know, then what does that say about you to them or future employees? If people see that you
Right.
do business that way, sooner or later, people are going to stop working with you. Whether it's
No,
you're going to have a hiring issue, you're going to have issue finding clients, you're going to have issue building relationships, getting additional things. It happens all the time. I have most of our business comes from referral customers, realistically. So yeah, I
mhm.
mean, we're doing a lot of things to go to the next level right now. Between our Facebook ads and this podcast, obviously, but we're also here to bring things to the industry overall. And we're also here to help your everyday moving company that's getting started. We're also here to, people refer people to us all the time. I get phone calls all the time of somebody that's a, you know, owner operator, that wants to get away from working with brokers, that wants to have his own jobs, book their own jobs, and we're here not just as a call center, we're also here in a supportive role, in the sense that, I'm always more than happy to answer questions and help people guide in that direction. They may or may not use me. It's not necessarily always about that. I have people that came to me, asked me questions, and then a week later, somebody from talking to them calls me and sets up a contract with us. You know what I mean? I've
Oh,
had that
wow.
happen, and they haven't even worked with me, but they were so appreciative on the guidance that we were giving them. And I think it's important. We got to be mentors in our industry. We got to be mentors to the new, to the old, whatever way we can help each other, because ultimately, yeah, sure, there's some competition. There's always going to be some competition. It's business. But ultimately, there's plenty of business to go around. And ultimately, it's being somebody that's respected, not just for being a good businessman, but also for being a good person. That's important.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
Now,
And that's very well put.
Now we've been working together once again for a long time at this point, Mario. And once again, we're both very passionate about the industry and about in general what we're doing. How would you say that moving sales professionals made your business better? Did it?
Well, I think it so it provided us with a consistent call center, because we didn't have, I mean, we have a little in-house sales, but I mean, you handle the majority of it. And it's been a good relationship. It's enabled me to catch all my leads, to have someone there to follow it up without training like a sales staff, because I didn't at the time, I didn't have the time or the wherewithal to do it. And I probably, like, hey, could we go out on our own? Sure, but I mean, I'm happy with what we're doing together. So yeah, we can just stay where we're doing. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that you manage, it's not just you have sales professionals, you actually manage your people. And if there's you've jumped on collection problems, you've jumped on a whole bunch of things that, someone else may not, like just sales alone. You've helped collect me money from clients or something that may have went wrong and made agreements. So I think that you've been hands-on and very active on, you know, your people. It's not just like, oh yeah, we sold it, too bad. It's like you'll cater to the owners. Like I'm in California, and selling in California is different from selling in New York or another place. And I think that you've been, you know, we've done, and we've spoke about this a million times. Selling in California is different from selling in New York, just like selling in New York is different from selling in Florida. And you've been able to master that, like in every market, and just to say, okay, this is what we have to do. And you're willing to, earlier in the podcast, you mentioned that I'm willing to try new things. Well, you were willing to do the same thing with your approach to sales. Like, okay, you know, the guys have to say this, or maybe a disclaimer or whatever, so we can get the job. You've done it. So, I mean, yeah, that's what I would say. First and foremost, that's how moving sales professionals have helped me over the years, is that, you know, you're accessible. Eddie Macon is real great. He's your right hand. That helped out tremendously. He's very accessible. Scott, all the guys on your team have been great over the time, and, you know, just real accessible, and yeah, very easy to get along with.
Well, that's great. That's great to hear that. So, and we got many years ahead of us. I mean, Mario got his a new venture that we can't wait for it to really take off. So we're
Yeah, so we're going to start to market our office in Southern California. We're just doing it's very entwined with the military, so it has a lot of it's very very heavily in the military. So we're trying to unravel that before we can start doing CODs. But once we do that, I'm looking forward to a great run down there too with you.
oh yeah, we can't wait for that. We're ready. We're ready.
And I know you are.
As soon as you are, we're ready. So the other thing
Yes.
I did meant to ask you. So you were obviously those of you that were with us at the Massaro event this last time to 2022 in October. They had you on the stage there for a little bit. How did that come about? I know they had you on there. So
Well, again, I mentioned that I'm a private client of Lewis's, and we were at a breakout group, I think in Dallas, before he moved back to Phoenix. And then everybody had to kind of tell their story. And so, like, he didn't know it. Like, so, and I just briefly told it, and I'll say it again on the podcast. The first time I met you, I didn't, no, I think no. I think that wasn't the one I met you. But when the first convention I went to, the first seminar I went to, I would see Lewis. I got severely injured on a job and I couldn't work, so I started to follow I started to follow I started to follow Lewis on YouTube. I just randomly saw him and I would like see his videos and I started to watch it. And then he started to pub this live in person event. And at the time, I was so financially broke, I couldn't really afford to go, but I had a little bit of money to go. And I was really on a shoestring budget. And I drove down there and slept on a friend of mine's couch, you know. But I remember something happened where I had to pay a bill, and I thought it was going to come out like on Monday or Tuesday of that week, and it came out like on the day I got there. So literally, I was broke. I had maybe $140 to get me 3 days food and fuel to get back. That's when fuel was a lot cheaper to get back to Northern California. So basically, I had $60 to eat on because I needed 80 to get back in fuel. And I remember I was sitting down at lunch with one of the participants, and I looked and the hamburger was going to be about $20. And I was like, oh. And then I just said to myself, I said, you can't do this. And I made an excuse to get up. And I ate basically at Circle K. It's like a 7-Eleven, hot dog, whatever, for $3.
yeah.
Came back and started to employ some of those processes. Got Smart Moving, helped us out a lot. Grew it from there. And then I think the next convention is when I met you, or maybe the third one. I can't remember. I got to give that some thought when I met you. Like, I think I was into my third one, but whatever it was, I was still hesitant. Like when we first met, like we didn't work together at first. It was like okay, and you would call and say, "Hey, what's going
Yes, it
on?"
took some prodding. Yes, it did.
Yeah, and then I was like, "Okay, okay, we'll get it done." You know what I mean? And then we got it done, and started. It took off. I mean, it took off right away. So
I keep my promises.
yeah, no, no, absolutely. It was good. So that's how it started. And then
Yeah.
still, like, I've had ups and downs, and, you know,
I think what's important for all of us, realistically, whether you're a moving company owner or an operator or, you know, or packing guy or somebody like me, you know, between my salespeople and what I'm doing here today, you know, with us putting professional salespeople into the moving industry, right? I think it's important to remember where we came from. And I think
yeah, yeah,
it's important to remember the hard times and tribulations that we may had to come through. And you know, that's if you can remember those hard times, it allows you to be better when you're seeing somebody that may be going through that, that needs a little
right,
help. I mean, I'm always willing, you know, I have clients that had a hard time because business was slow, you know,
right,
and I've, you know, while taking some payments, I was willing to defer their bills for me, you know, because I knew that if I stopped booking for them, then they wouldn't be able to continue doing what they're doing. And then at the end of the day, they wouldn't be able to swim out for whatever, you know, deep end they dove into. You know what I mean? So sometimes you need to be able to help people. You have to be able to get them somewhere. But that's
no,
what,
no. And then sometimes, you know what, like, you know, I can say that you've done that for me, or, I'm just like, especially in the beginning, it was like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't know how to handle it. Then I couldn't quantify it, because a lot of times I think that people say, oh man, I can never afford this, until they get into it. And then the numbers kind of adjust, and you're like, oh, okay, this is working. And we got on a roll. And then, okay, now I understand what he's doing. You understand what I'm doing. And then it just becomes a good thing. So, yeah, no. But it was times where it was like, okay, wow, all right. And then you look at the jobs and you're like, yeah, this is pretty nice. And yeah, it worked out. So,
all right, great. Well, once again, Mario, we appreciate having you on our podcast. It's been a pleasure. We at some point I'd love to bring you back again, maybe at some point in the future. But this is great. Thank you. You're our first interviewee, so we appreciate the time that you're spending with us. And
no,
for those
I
of you
appreciate.
watching, please click and subscribe on the link below and continue listening.
Thank you very much, Yuri. Again, thank you to your staff, management, and production people. Thanks for having me on. It's always been a pleasure. I'd love to come back, and hopefully these conversations will help other owners, and just in life. It doesn't even matter. Hopefully they'll do business with you, but if they don't, maybe they'll learn and they'll take something from it, and we'll all do business later on down the road together. So it may not be instantaneous, but
Right.
I
And
think
we're
it'll be
not,
good.
yeah, we're not, you know, we're talking to companies all the time. And the reality is this is that you may not choose to use us today. You may choose us to use somewhere down the road, but I'm always willing to help. I'm always willing to provide advice. There's a variety of services that we offer today that we didn't, you know, years ago when we just opened. But at the end of the day, we're here for a long haul, and we're going to continue bringing industry professionals to our podcast to um, just in general help people that are in the industry. That is our goal here, to provide you with valuable information, valuable insights into the industry as a whole.
I agree. Well, very well put. Thank you very much again for having me, and I'm sure we'll probably talk a little bit later on today, or sometime this week. Thank you very much.
Oh, we will. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.